Hello. ASMR, this is me petting your head, ASMR. So, I wanted to start this. It's gonna probably evolve over time, to be completely honest with you. Because, I don't know, I get bored and I want things to be different or evolving constantly. But I wanted to just start the series because if I just waited until I had all the things perfect or all the visions I have in my brain, I was never gonna do it. So I'm going to start it now. And it's basically called, or the title of it is called People That I Know. Like with these videos, these specific videos, I just like want to be able to like talk about people that I love and just have a reason to showcase and highlight them. But it's gonna kind of be, this first one is probably gonna be like a glorified like slideshow, to be honest with you, because the person that I am going to be speaking about, she lives in another state. So this is kind of a surprise. She was always in my plan to be one of the people I wanted to speak about. And I think it's fitting that she's the first person I speak about. And also her birthday is like coming up. So I think this is like the perfect time to celebrate her coming into this world and just existing and coming into my world and making my life better. And it just kind of gives it, it's all kind of like perfect circle. I don't know, synchronicities. In all seriousness, this person I met many, many years ago. And when I first met her, she was wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. She was incredibly kind, she was incredibly sweet, and she was so bubbly. Like bubbly to the point where I was just kind of like, get away from me kind of bubbly. And I've always kind of been the type where I wouldn't say that I'm a pessimist, but I mean, I can be. I was more like a realist. I still am a realist, so it's like hard for me when people like come to me with like this kind of energy where it seems like they're trying to like perform. And that's how she first was when I first met her. Granted, she was young then, and she had just moved to California, or was in the process of moving to California. Long story short, when I first met her, we did not connect. But I could tell that she was kind, and she was very, very sweet. So I couldn't not like her. But I had met her when I was like, teaching dance, and years passed and years go by. Like for the first like big chunk of us knowing each other, like I didn't know much except for that she was sweet and she was kind and she was bubbly. And that was it. And I'm kind of a dark person, so when you put me around people like that, it's like hard for me to relate. I can be like light, and I can be like, I have these things about me that everybody has their two sides, and like I just never got that from her. I never saw the other side, right? So more time passes, and I get to know her more and more, and then there's this one time where me and her have this like incredibly deep conversation. You know how it goes. You have a deep conversation with somebody, you get to really know who they are and like kind of where they came from. And I remember learning so much about her. Like how she's a Hawaiian native. She had spent a lot of her life living in Hawaii, and then she moved to Vegas. And I learned about like her childhood and what type of child she was and the types of things that she had to deal with growing up. She never shares that side with a lot of people. She kind of keeps it to herself. But I'm not gonna like release personal details and talk about things. I'm gonna be very vague about stuff because it's not my story to tell. I can only tell from my, I want to only speak from my experience and how that person and how I see that person, right? She didn't have the strongest support system growing up. When I like, you know, heard her whole backstory, heard all these things, I started to realize like how strong she was. And she'd always kind of been like a survivor. And that's the way that she like approached everything. She didn't make excuses, and she just kind of like, you know, gave everyone the space, gave everyone the benefit of the doubt, and she just lived her life. And she did it with kindness, and she did it with like love and energy and positivity. And she was so welcoming to every single person that she came across. Like, you know those types of people that you meet and you don't know what it is about them, but they walk into a room and you speak to them and they like hang on your every word. Like you can tell that they care about every single thing that you're saying. And they make you feel like you can do anything. She's like that for a lot of people, including myself. And like, I know this is gonna sound really cliche and corny. Like, you know, when people say, oh, they're like such a light. Like, she really is like a light. Like, and people can't explain it. Like, years down the line, we started working together, and we, you know, I realized that she had the same goals that I did, which was like to really, really, really emphasize the creative path for people. She didn't want to just be shackled to this reality, and that's where me and her aligned. So it just made it was like the obvious choice that we were gonna like do this together. But anyways, you know, we started the company and we were working together, and you know, she's part of my team, and she would sit in on meetings that we would have, and people would speak to her and she would start speaking to them. They start smiling, and it was just this something you couldn't explain. Just one of a kind type of energy. And the thing is, it wasn't just one person or two people. It was every single time she came across somebody. She found some way to relate, to connect, and it didn't come from a fake place. It came from a place where she truly was interested in who they were as people. And that is so rare. And that's just her as a person. So that's just one part, right? And there was one meeting, me and her were talking, and we're just having a conversation, and she just starts singing. And I remember I stopped and I looked at her while she was singing. She was just like singing to herself. We were like, there was a break or something, and she was singing to herself. And then I paused. I was like, wait, you can sing? And she was like, oh yeah, I like love singing. Like I love music. I've always like wanted to sing. I just never really kind of believed in myself, or I felt like I could never really take it anywhere. No one really like told me that I could. And I remember sitting there just being so confused, because here's another thing that's just so amazing about her. This humility. Not she's creative, and she's so like appreciative of everybody's creative energy, and she's sitting here with this talent. And I'm not saying that she's like the most perfect voice in the world or whatever it is, but it's this voice that you could listen to and you actually enjoyed. I take everything she thinks about seriously. There's people that come into your life and it's like a one of a kind type of stuff. Like, you're never gonna receive that again. And even with the ups and downs that me and her have had over the years, like, I'm just so grateful that she exists. She's one of the most creative people I've ever met, and she's one of the most hardworking people I've ever met. And all while being the light in a room. I have the pleasure of having her still in my life and working side by side with her. It's an honor for me, to be completely honest with you. Because she reminds me all the time that, like, what I have to say is important. That I matter here. She's able to, like, just carry the energy of the world with her. She lets people have zero pressure. Like, it's hard to meet people that take pressure away from you, you know? This life is constantly putting pressure on you. And she's able to walk in anywhere and take pressure away from everyone. To take, like, pain and disdain away from everyone. She can be there by your side, and she can support and build you up and make you feel like anything is possible. She laughs a lot. She's pretty funny. I would say she's pretty funny. I always give her shit about not being funny, but truthfully, she's one of the funnier people I know. She's beautiful. She is strong. She's the type of person that will go on a month-long hike just to say that she did it. She's willing to try different things. She's an incredible cook. She cooks amazing. Like, I'm very particular about, like, what I eat, and she talks to strangers, makes them feel like they're heard. She, like, helped youth on the spectrum, and she was always there, like, you know, she was doing one-on-ones with them and, like, taking care of them, and she would paint with them and create with them, and the amount of love that that girl carries is, most people don't deserve it. It's like even hard for me to put into words. Like, I feel like, I guarantee the moment you meet her, you just know. Like, you would just know. She'll come in and she'll light your light. I know that sounds redundant, but it's like so many people have their lights and their hearts, like, dimmed, whether it's creatively, their passion, or whatever it may be. And she can come in and light you up by just talking to you, by listening to you. And I'm grateful. Yeah, the first one of people that I know. And maybe I'll revisit this and I'll do it again and reshoot it or add more stuff so it's not as, like, you know, simple and straightforward. And maybe I can, like, have her in the video and you can, like, you know, she can talk and me and her can talk. I don't know if she's, like, on social media, like she tends to come in and on and off social media because, like, social media is kind of soul draining. My life would not be the same without her. I always think about that. Because there was a point where she wasn't in my life and she had to take a break from the world. And I understood. I understood where she was coming from. I was just always worried about her. I just always care about her. I care about her like my little sister. So when she went away from the world, like, she took, like, that light kind of with her a little bit. So when she came back, I just welcomed her back with open arms because I'm just grateful that she's here. that she exists. And whatever the pathway has for us and everyone that knows her, like, I will always be in her corner. So if you know this person, if you know Raynalyn, you're lucky. You're incredibly lucky.